All right, so 2018 Adobe Canyon Vineyard Sangiovese.
It's also a new vineyard for me.
For those who know Los Olivos, it's kind of behind Lincourt. When the couple bought this property 10 years ago, they were a friend of mine and asked me to come take a look. And they're like, well, what do you think? Can we plant grapes here? And it's like, you can plant grapes anywhere in this valley. Like, you'd be fine to plant grapes here. But the really cool part about this vineyard was back in the 90s, I had worked at Babcock Winery, and we had a label called 11 Oaks. And 11 Oaks was this really, really beautiful vineyard where we were making Sauvignon Blanc and Sangiovese, and it was a hot label, and it was really cool. And I remember sampling, from that vineyard. Well, Adobe Canyon Vineyard is right behind 11 Oaks. And so it's like, I know the area really well. And this vineyard, it's this tiny little 3-acre vineyard that has Sauvignon Blanc, Sangiovese, and Tempranillo. And my wine club members know all 3 of these wines. Pretty much it's almost a Transcendence vineyard because we work with a lot of the fruit, if not all of the fruit. So, and it was kind of by accident where the owner had called me and asked, he's like, hey, I've got this extra fruit. Can you take it? And he dropped it off at the winery, and it was the most beautiful fruit I'd seen all harvest long. And so it was like one of those things like, wow, this accident that I didn't even plan on making was just beautiful. But then it took so long in barrel. Then it was like, Sangiovese, although I'd made Sangiovese in my career, it's difficult. It can be really pretty fruit, but it's all acid and tannin for like 2 years in barrel. So it's like, I never thought it was going to come around. And when it does, Sangiovese is beautiful when it comes around.
Really, really stunning.
Although it does have a fruity component, it has a savory component. And that's kind of one of those qualities where all the old world wines, California wines are fruity, right. World wines are savory. And, what happens on this wine, and I think it's because it takes time in barrel, is, everything starts out fruity and it transitions to that savory note. And so it becomes a timing of when you're ready to put it in bottle and then start that next phase of its life. Mm-hmm. This wine spent 2 years in barrel, racked once. It changed a lot. And again, I think that of a lot of wines, it requires patience. And just about every wine requires patience. And I see so many younger winemakers or whatnot where, if something doesn't taste right, it's like, we got to fix this wine. And it's like,
you can overmake a wine.
They're like kids, they have bad behaviors and they have bad times. It's like, as long as, my palate's trained microbial, as long as it's not a microbial issue or a sulfur issue. But if wines go through funky phases, and that's okay. That's part of development and part of growth of the wines. It does have a fruity component, but it has like a salty savoriness. Mm-hmm. And definitely when it comes in, it comes in on the front of my palate. But then the tannins, more than the acid, the tannins take over on this wine. And that's where I'm excited to see where this wine's going to go. Because for me, the impression right now is probably 3/4 of the way back on my palate, Mm-hmm. And so at some point, I hate the common saying in a tasting room, like, age this wine for 5 to 7 years. Because all wines age differently. It depends on how you age them. And it really depends on how you like your wines. Mm-hmm. I do think that, this wine, and I don't know the time frame, is going to shift back and blossom out with time. Mm-hmm. And, hopefully let's try it in 3 years. Let's try it in 5 years. Unfortunately, there's 100 cases made of this wine and it's going to sell out before summer.
This is one of those wines where you can drink your dinner and you can pair it with the remote control.